fellow Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, fellow freedom fighters, you're welcome to this edition of the Common Sense Talk Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ikome Samuel Sako. For some time, I have rather stayed back, trying to observe from a distance, expecting some things to unfold so that I can make my conclusions. But sometimes events are slow, and then they are taking their toll on the movement, and I needed to make my opinions known. And so today I will be talking about the imminent release of some of our freedom fighters in Kondengi and other jails. And I'm also going to talk about the interim government, the election of an interim government for our people, Southern Cameroons. And then I will give some of my opinions concerning appointments that are carried on right now by La Republique, whether they be of DOs or colonial administrators, or probably an imminent, a possible cabinet shake-up, and what those appointments should mean and should not mean to us. Some of the things that are happening, I told you that they will happen, but the way they happen will take us by surprise. But when they happen, we should remember that I told you. Let me remind you of something. Southern Cameroon has not elected anybody, whether free or in jail, as the leader of our liberation movement. Nobody has been elected. When we call somebody, whether in jail or on exile or in the home front, as a leader of our struggle, it is not any coronation, because it is not by any form of consultation that these people will emerge as leaders. So there is nobody in jail, and there's nobody outside the jail or in the diaspora who can call himself the legitimate leader of this movement. So in a spontaneous resistance like this one, let us remember where we started. Let's always remember where we started so we can know where we are and where we are going. When the teachers were organizing themselves into Teachers Association of Cameroon, and then the other consortium led by Mr. Tassan, when those trade unions were organizing, when F.R.A Law Association, the Meme Law Association, the Manual Law Association, the Northwest Lawyers Association, when those associations were organizing, they were basically organizing for industrial reasons. There's none of these people, none of the founders of those trade unions, none of them ever had it in mind the change of the form of state in Southern Cameroon. They were basically organizing to protect their rights as professionals. So nobody formed any trade union any day and said, because I want to champion the cause of the people of Southern Cameroon. So how did we get here? When these strikes were organized by the teachers and by the lawyers, and then it was almost stale, and the teachers joined in, and then thank God for the Coffin Revolution. That's why I give kudos to the Coffin Revolution led by our brother Mancho. because that is the man, that is the revolution that converted industrial demands to a political revolution. And then when the people made their demands known, the trade unionists who were basically negotiating for their rights, they were caught up in a position that they could not accept, even if their demands were made 100%, they were not going to accept those demands to call off the strike because the people stood between them and the government. So the people took over this revolution, and some, either by conviction or by fear, decided not to ignore the people and just limit their demands to their industrial demands. They said the people, like Aaron in the Bible, they said the people have said, so there's nothing we can do. So even if you give us these demands right now we have asked for, there's nothing, we can't even call off this strike anymore. They were held hostage by the people. So how did they become our leaders? In this kind of movement, they became leaders because when they understood what the people wanted, by fear or by conviction, they decided to stand with the people. So that is how leadership emerges. They decided to speak the language of the people to the authorities that be, and that makes them a mouthpiece or leaders. And leadership in this kind of circumstances, for it to be legitimate, has to always reflect the collective will of the people that you purportedly are speaking for. So the people stood behind them and said the consortium is our leadership for now, because at that point they spoke exactly what the people wanted. They spoke the will of the people. And then they were arrested unlawfully, taken to jail. And then the people have been evolving. The people have been evolving in their demands. The truth has been coming, more of the truth has been coming out. The action of the enemy has been portrayed clearly for what it is, and more of the light has come. More light has been shed on the issues. And the people say, okay, this cannot even work anymore. Now we want total separation from these people. After all, we have never been one before. Now, if these leaders continue in jail to speak another language, different from the language of the people that they purportedly represent, how are they leaders of the people? What qualifies you a leader of the people in a revolution is when you speak the language of the people. At any point that you stop speaking the language of the people, you have lost legitimacy. That is the truth. It's not very, very palatable. But in a revolution where people are not voted, where people have not been voted to power, how do leaders emerge? They are the leaders who understand the minds of the people and who communicate the will of the people to the authorities and the powers that be. Those people become the natural leaders of the revolution. But when those leaders now are speaking contrary to the will of the people, how are they leaders anymore? So for me, I have already repudiated anybody. I don't want to call names because some people will say, how are you sure that that's their position? I repudiate everybody, anyone. I don't care whether you were born out from a trade union, or you were born from the Recovery Revolution, or you came from the Maquisards, or from whatever, from the ACPDM or SDF, wherever you came from. But if for now, your opinion does not reflect what 80–90% of the population want, you are no more the leader of this revolution. You are not. The leadership of a revolution is not a a chieftaincy title. It's not a chieftaincy title. It's not a birthright. It's not anything like, okay, I started this. At any point that you don't reflect the wishes of the people that are actually the authors of the revolution, how do you call yourself a leader? I wanted to make that very clear so that when I get to my conclusions, you will not be surprised. Let me also help to school some of us in something. There are many kinds of freedom fighters. There are many kinds of freedom fighters. I tried to bring out some so that I will remind, we will go gradually. Let me just go gradually. I'll show you the various kinds of freedom fighters. You know, some people are freedom fighters because they are doing it as an adventure. They are doing it as an adventure. What you call an adventure is like somebody almost venturing to it because there are possibilities of succeeding and making a livelihood out of it. Some people can become freedom fighters by adventure. Then you also have conditional freedom fighters. Conditional freedom fighters are freedom fighters that are freedom fighters depending on the circumstances. Depending on the circumstances. When the circumstances are good, they are not freedom fighters. When the circumstances are bad, oh, I am a freedom fighter, count me in. When the arrest is brother, he's a freedom fighter. When they appoint his brother, there's no freedom fighting for now. Let's hold on till we see how things will work. Those are conditional freedom fighters. Then also, we have hired freedom fighters. The hired freedom fighters are those who are paid to fight for the freedom of somebody. They are there for the dollar. They are paid expressly to fight. We had them in Congo. We had them in many revolutionary movements. Then let me also talk of the accidental freedom fighters. You know the accidental freedom fighters? They are people who never desire to be freedom fighters. But an accident of history, a bad coincidence of events, plunged them in a situation and they found themselves fighting for their freedom. And then there are the true freedom fighters. The true freedom fighters, let me now use these terminologies to explain what I mean. I consider every one of the freedom fighters today who emerged from the trade unionists, the trade union strikes, as accidental freedom fighters until they will prove beyond reasonable doubt that they were born freedom fighters. I consider them accidental freedom fighters. I'm not saying that they are not true freedom fighters, yes, but until they can prove beyond reasonable doubt to me, all are accidental freedom fighters. But some, as time goes on, are now distinguishing themselves to not be accidental, just accidental freedom fighters, but people who are real freedom fighters. And who are the real freedom fighters? To a real freedom fighter, he lives freedom. He breathes freedom. Is the freedom to attain freedom is the essence of his life. Is the reason why he lives. So he cannot exchange. He cannot stop fighting for any reason. Stopping a true freedom fighter from fighting for his freedom is like taking away breath from him. Because for him, life has no meaning until he has succeeded in that battle of bringing freedom, true freedom to his people. To a true freedom fighter, he is the fight is his life. And his life is the fight. He did not arrive there by circumstances. He did not arrive there by accident. He did not arrive there because he was paid some money. He did not arrive there because the conditions were favorable or not favorable. He did not arrive there by any adventure. He arrived there because of a very deep-rooted conviction that has now become the essence of his life. He lives for it. He breathes it. That if you take that from him, you have taken away the essence from him. That is a true freedom fighter. But today we have many accidental freedom fighters. People, you know, when you make an accident, you regret, right? There are some people who find themselves as freedom fighters today, and they are actually regretting. They say, "Oh my God, why did this happen? Why me?" Then you find yourself in a place that you're supposed to call yourself a freedom fighter, at least to fight for your life, for your survival. But you are not a freedom fighter. Any leader let me tell you, a true freedom fighter, he is concerned about the people and the values he's fighting for. That is what makes sense. Not anything you offer him, not even the conveniences you give him, not even the appointments you promise him. He is asking you, is trying to ask the question, is it okay now with the people? Is it now okay? Do we now have equality? Do we have justice now? Is it, as the wrongs been righted now? Is it okay now? That's when he considered himself fulfilled. There's no sense of fulfillment by any kind of reward, more than the victory won for the freedoms that he fights for. That is a true freedom fighter. A true freedom fighter will spend 27 years in prison and hopes to come back out as a wreck or useless to himself. But for one thing achieved, that what I fought for has been achieved. Not by me, but by the people. That's a true freedom fighter. You cannot corrupt a true freedom fighter. The only way you can corrupt him is to give the people what they want. Is to give him what he's asking for, not give him an alternative. You cannot corrupt a true freedom fighter. You know, these guys are not... Excuse me. Who is person? I'm sorry for that intervention. Sorry. So, I am not against Mr. Balla or Fontaine being released or on bail. Let me tell you where I stand on this, having said so many things. They were not supposed to be arrested in the first place, okay? Because the arrest was illegal.
No, they didn't, bitch.
They were not supposed to be arrested in the first place, right? So all the same, they were arrested. So, and even if they were arrested, considering that it was a crime, even if they were arrested, they were not supposed to be kept for 130 days before considering their application for bail. It is either the offense you have committed is bailable or it's not bailable. If your offense is bailable, it doesn't take 130 days for you to establish, to approve your bail or not. So, it's all rubbish. They were supposed to have been released on bail from day one. As soon as they were tried in court, they were supposed to be released on bail. So that one is normal. So keeping them all this while is something else. But here is my problem. If they are releasing them now, well, it's too late. But it's okay. If they are releasing them now, it's okay. Too late, but okay. But here is my problem. Why is it that right now these two people are considered bailable? What are the reasons? Is it because they stand for federalism? But I think that they are not the only ones in jail who stand for federalism. Is it because, and if they stand for federalism, is federalism no more a treasonable offense? Does it not involve a change of the form of state? Is it now, how is federalism better than separation according to the constitution that we have now? How is it different? It still involves a change of the form of state. And when any action you take that compromises the integrity of the state is called a treasonable offense. So what has happened? What makes federation now no more a treasonable offense? Then number 3, are these the only ones who are the same this kind of charges? What of Aya Paul? Is he charged differently? Are his charges different? What of the other magistrates? What of the other lawyers? What are the other professionals, the journalists, and the rest that have been arrested? Are they not for the same charges? Are there not hundreds in jail under the same charges? Okay, if the question is that they have residents and they are professionals and they are known, wow. Who knew Dr. Fontaine before this problem started? How many people at home and in their diaspora knew Dr. Balla before this problem started? The problem, we and all those that are carrying on actions now, marching all over, going to Twitter and going to Facebook and all over the place and writing letters to United Nations, to embassies, have popularized these people. So what do they mean by they are known? The actions of the diaspora, the actions of the freedom fighters all over, the activists have popularized these people. Is that what qualifies them? And we have also publicized Aya Paul. We have also publicized Mancho. If the matter was one of the amount of publicity given to one or the other, why is Mancho not on the list? Why is Aya Paul not on the list? If it's because of profession, I think Aya Paul, professionally speaking, is the highest. Is higher than every one of them, professionally. Why is he not among them that are supposed to be released? Why this discrimination and choosing these two people as the ones that will be coming out, that will be released, eminently released? I don't know, whatever the reason they give, the logic, it doesn't add up. It doesn't make complete sense. It doesn't answer my questions. This favor, if it is a favor, because it looks like a favor, right? Because a favor is something that they give to you, not because you deserve it than others, but because it's favor. There is nothing that proves that these two people who have been earmarked for release, they deserve this more than others. What makes them deserve it? Except in the thinking of La Republique, or whatever their strategy is saying. How do they deserve to be released more than others? It's not for the crime they committed. They are not different. It's not for the charges. They are not different. It's not for their professional level. They are not better than others who are still in jail. They are magistrates in jail. They are journalists in jail. They are professionals in jail of the same caliber, professors of the same caliber with Dr. Fontaine. So it's not professional. So what is the reason for this wonderful favor? These are some of the possible reasons. The reason is that maybe there is a deal. Maybe there is a deal that they have reached with these two people. If not, okay, give me a reason why the others are not professional enough. They are not high-ranking enough. They are not qualified enough to be granted bail. Arrested for the same crime, for the same offense, alleged offense, in the same prison, going to the same court. So you cannot say it's different magistrates. So you say maybe the other magistrate saw it differently and this other magistrate saw it differently. The only possibility is that there is a deal that has been agreed upon, which is the basis for their release. Their release is good, but to obtain their release under these circumstances only leaves us with more questions. I wish them well. I pray they release them even today. Let them go back and see their families and their kids. If I were the one, my kids would be crying every day. But my fears are not abated. My fears are not abated. They are only exacerbated. Let me tell you the mindset of La Republique. What they have done like this, they have taken it from the page, they have taken a page from the colonial book, the French colonial book. That's the page, a page they have taken. Do you know what is written on that page? Give these people leaders and control them through those leaders. It's written in the French colonial book. Give them leaders. Give those Africans leaders and use those leaders to control them. You know, that's what Biya knows. Since the problem started, what has he been doing? He has been taking some of our so-called leaders, Mosonge, Achiri Achu, Paul Atanganjipo, Mokete, and the phone, and Wafo, and the phone of Bali, and the rest. He has been taking them and said, we gave them leaders, so use those leaders and take control over them. So they send them again for the same thing. So that's why we made you leaders. We made you leaders so that you would help us to keep those people under control. So they send them again. And then we told them that the game has changed. We told them the game has changed. This time around, we have repudiated all of them. They are no more leaders. They are no more our leaders. Maybe you made them leaders. So that formula has failed. Now La Republique is looking for leaders again. They want to make another set of leaders that they can send again and say, help us to take control over those people, to keep them under control. Help us. We want to raise you up as the new elite or the new elite that will help us to keep those people under control. So they are in serious search for a new elite that will help them. That is taken from the French colonial book. And this is the making of them. I told you that anybody who stands in this struggle is federalism. I'm afraid of you till the end of this battle. Till the end of this battle, I am afraid of you. Let me tell you the truth. Because you are the closest to my enemy. You are the closest to my enemy. Anybody who has a real enemy can never trust somebody who is too close to his enemy. That's all. I don't know the rest, but you are too close to my enemy. La Republique and the system. You are going too slow, too close to them. It is either there is a deal or those people have surrendered There are two possibilities. It is either there is a deal that will be revealed as time goes on, or a surrender. Listen, every bail is conditional release. Every bail is a conditional release. There's no bail that is a total, because conditional is that you have to appear in court. You don't have to travel out. Your passport should be give in the hands of the administration. You don't have your full liberty until the case is decided. So it's a conditional release. So because it's called bail, under the circumstances, I would say it's okay. But my question is that the way this one is granted has left more questions than answers. And the people of Southern Cameroon are wiser and vigilant. I want to inform La République that we are wiser in this generation and very vigilant. I want to warn those people who are leaders, because at one time they spoke the language of the people and we recognized their voice. I say that voice looks like it's talking our mind. So eat our leader. I want to warn them that it was not a gift from the people for you to be a leader. They only found there was just a resonance of the will, between the will of the people and your voice at one time. If at any point you decide to change and say whatever you think, and make assurances behind curtains and tell them, I will do this, don't worry, it shall be fine, you will be disappointed for the rest of your life and destiny. Because the people have decided, the people of Southern Cameroon. I know it. If you think I'm lying, take your own stance and try to bring the people around to believe in what you want them to believe. Let's see how long you will remain a superstar in the public space. Let's see how long you will remain there before they dethrone you, before they tell you to your face that you are a sellout. Nobody can sell out this struggle because it has changed. If it is not a compromise, it is an act of surrender. And my prayer for those who think that they have suffered too much, so let's give up, is that God will strengthen you. And the other thing is, I wonder if you are a true freedom fighter. If you are not just an accidental freedom fighter, or probably a conditional freedom fighter who just got himself in the fight and he said, the conditions have changed, so now it's over, I call it off. So, you don't become a hero just because you were arrested. You are made a hero because of what you fought for. It's the truth again. Nobody is a hero because he was arrested. He's actually a hero because of what he was fighting for that they arrested him. And if today you abandon it, you will lose that. You will lose that like vapor. Because the people only hail you because you stood for them. And you stood for them. And they thought that you standing for them to the end. And if at any point you strike a deal with the enemy, I'm not saying you have done, but if at any point you decide to do that, you'll be shocked for the rest of your life. Your name will be forgotten. People will delete it from every space in the internet, every space in their house. Wherever they have idolized it, they will take it down. Because this fight is greater than the convenience of one man or two. So it's just a warning. It's not an accusation. So, I want to talk about the interim government. I think those are the two things I want to talk about mostly. The election of the interim government is not a to be or not to be. It's just a matter of when and how. So I just want to call on the organizations that are involved in this struggle to come together instead of jabbing each other on the issue. There is no one single organization, except some whose leaders I've heard, who have said that they will not, they don't see the need. But as many as have now seen the need, it is time to stop jabbing, to start calling yourselves behind the scene and trying to agree on certain issues, so that you can arrive sooner than later on the modalities and the dates and the schedules for that election. And I want to also warn the organizations, as many as sat down and said they don't see the need for the elections. I want you to understand that you became a leader not because of some qualification or some election, some people voted you. You became a leader the day you started speaking the language of the people. The people of Southern Cameroon say they want to have a government. The first thing Ayijo brought down concerning the disintegration of the state of Southern Cameroon was the dissolution of the government. That was our identity. And when we talk restoration, if we have not gotten to that point, it means we have not started. So it is not a matter of whether to be or not to be. It's a matter of the sooner the main organizations start talking to each other and start agreeing and start making clear and sound proposals on what has to be done, the better. Because any one leader who misses this current shall be left behind and shall be repudiated by the people. Any leader who decide for any reason to say, I know what is better, the people don't know what is good. I know what is good. I have the intellectual capacity to convince them to abandon what is good. They will repudiate you and throw you by the curb. They will only continue to recognize you as their leader when you are speaking their minds, when you are articulating their needs, and when you are setting yourself, pursuing their needs. That's what makes you a leader of a revolution. And let me tell you, this thing is a revolution and it's an evolution. It is evolving. The people have moved from all the ghost towns. They are saying, what next? And they are seeing that it is time for them to have an authority over them, a government reinstated that they will look onto. And that is an almost unanimity right now. And then, for any reason, if you don't understand that current and flow with it, it will leave you behind. It will leave you behind. The people will get tired. The people will get frustrated. That's the real word. Frustrated with people who are supposed to see what they want and articulate it clearly and help them to achieve it, and they are only trying to argue with them. You don't argue with the people you are leading. If you think that the people are wrong and they are going the wrong way, stop and get out. Any leader who stands there that, no, I know how to argue with my people and convince all my people to go the way I want to go, has already ousted himself from the leadership of a revolution. Because in revolutions, people don't have that kind of patience. The followers don't have the patience to teach their leaders what is right. They only want a leader with foresight who can see and understand what they are saying, articulate it clearly, and they say, yeah, exactly. You know us, you know what is happening. And then they follow you. On this issue of the interim government, it's a hot issue because this is the heartbeat of the people. The leadership must put itself together to realize it. There's no need for any waste of time. Put your heads together, let there be agreement, and it shall be realized. And for those who are worried about citizenship levy, I want to assure you that You know, organizations usually, they ask their members levies, right? But when it comes to the government does not ask, the government does not have members. You know who are the members of a government? They are the citizens. So if the head of the state comes out and said, according to our decree this day, all the citizens, those who believe in our autonomy, all the citizens of this country are to be levied, are to register, are to pay this amount, a minimum of this, to our coffers every year, every month. That becomes the law, right? And it has a greater legitimacy, and more people will give with a sense of belonging. Not because the members of a state are its citizens. So if the head of state says that this is what we want from every member, it means this is what we want from every citizen. But sometimes Skakuf is doing something very great. But sometimes some people look at it to be money to Skakuf, because they say, I'm not part of Skakuf. But I believe that as this government comes into place, it will be clearer that that is an important assignment that Skakuf has taken upon itself, that will serve any government that will come into power. If you register now, it is not a mistake. But I think that there will be an increase, because everybody now, you will have to register as a citizen, whether you are in whether you're in this organization or that one. The citizenship call demands, and the head of government says so. When we have a government, this is what will happen. Because I know that the next phase of our struggle is self-defense and governmental administration. That's the next step. This governmental administration involves legal issues, involves diplomacy, and so on. So the next phase of our struggle is going to be self-defense and governmental administration. That is the next phase of our struggle. Let me also tell the people of self-defense that when there is self-defense without a government in place, it leads us to the situation that we have in Central African Republic, that there are many militias. They said they are fighting for freedom. But finally, they ended up everyone controlling a pocket of the country. Everyone, there are about 5 or 6 different militias controlling different pockets of the country. Then the government controls Bangui. That's what is happening in Central African Republic. Because they are all fighting for the same thing, but they don't have a common administration. They don't have a common government. So for that reason, there's no coordination. If we implement self-defense today, I've heard about 3 or 4 different kinds of self-defense groups. I've heard the Vipers, I have the Imojok, I have heard the Southern Cameroon Defense Force, I've heard different ones. If everybody, AGC, if everybody just goes there now, and everybody is doing his own corner, this is what will, first of all, this is the problem. There's going to be lack of coordination. And when there's this lack of coordination, it can lead to acts that will not be separable from terrorism. Acts that will not be separable from terrorism. But what does the government do when there is a government? The resistance will not be known as Vipers anymore. The self-defense will not be known as Vipers. They will be known as Southern Cameroon Forces. Because there is a government, that government will be able to explain the activities, its activities. You'll be able to back up give explanations of its activities. He will be able to give us the explanation of his activities to the UN if they call them, to the African Union if they call them, to member countries that want to hear from them. They can have audiences in different places to explain their activities, to be able to denounce any activity that does not fit into their activities on the ground. So you see, it will give legitimacy to our organization for self-defense. Because we cannot be carrying acts that we don't have a mouthpiece that can explain to the world what is happening, who is responsible for what, and who is not responsible for what. The terrorist groups don't operate like that, but governments, when they carry out an act for self-defense, they explain it. They talk to the international press. They say what is happening. They explain the side of their own story, what they are aware of and what they are not aware of. That's what the government is meant for. It's meant to defend even our acts of self-defense if we do them. And we shall not be known like some armed men, some group of people, some unknown people. No, they shall call them the force, the Southern Cameroon forces. We need a government. You know, governments can support the defense force of a nation, but they cannot easily support armed groups. You know why? Because for any government to support the defense force of a nation, they will vet it. It will pass through some vetting. You know, America took some time to start sending arms to Syria because there were so many groups and they needed to vet them and decide on which one has respect for the values of human life, democracy, and the rest that they can support. So governments don't support groups, arms groups easily. They can support an organized group which has a spokesman, which has authority over the people, which they vet and they know that they will respect the rules of war and the rules of law. If you are not vetted, they cannot stand for you. Governments cannot stand with you when small pockets of people just do funny sporadic acts of violence here and there and say, that is us, we need support. Nobody supports you for that. No Congress will pass any law in support of you. We need a government. It will help us to organize our self-defense in a professional way, in a legal way. And we shall have support. We can attract support of nations because they will vet our activities. They will be able to talk with us and know exactly what we want and what we are doing and what we are not going to do. And there will be proper coordination so that the excesses can be contained. There will be organization. They will not be happening haphazardly. Our self-defense will be organized. That's what the government can bring in. So finally, I just want to talk about this appointments. You know, those people who became freedom fighters because it is convenient or not convenient, because for some gain, some of them joined the consortium. I mean, what is it? That they call it the Commission for Bilingualism and Multicultural Nonsense. Some of them already jumped. They jumped from the struggle to the commission when they knew that that would not solve the problem. They knew that that would not solve the problem. But they joined anyway. So they joined. They knew that this would not solve the problem, but they you know, let me say this one. Appointments are not going to stop. Forget about this thing, the deals. Somebody was confused, say, this man is sending us deals from from the English side. So how are we going to do now? So what? You are not my brothers just because your father is from Nki, or your mother is from Dian, or you can articulate, you can speak English very well, and all of us went through to government school at Konalelu. No. A place of birth in this kind of struggle is not what determines where the side you belong. When you decide to side with the oppressor, you are an oppressor. These are all hired hands of the oppressor. Whether they are DOs or SDOs working for La Republique, they are not our brothers. They are not there for us. They are not there to foster our aims and objectives. They are there to work against us and serve their master. They are slave masters, slaves. Okay? They are slaves. So we treat them as such, enemies in the house. Enemies in the house. So this is all from the French colonial book of oppression. Say, give them leaders and use those leaders to oppress them. Give them leaders, they will be quiet. And use those leaders and oppress them. Double the oppression. There's nothing they can do again because it's their people. Whatever we will do to La Republique and their agents, we shall do to anybody, whether you were born anywhere in Southern Cameroon or not. Because you are even more dangerous. Because you come in like a green, like a sheep, but you are a wolf, and you want to exploit our leniency towards you for being one of us, and you want to use that to exploit us and destroy our struggle, our movement, our hope, and bring the shedding of the and to make us fail in our struggle, so that those who shed their blood and who have paid the price should have done so for nothing because of you, because of your DO, because of SDO. The time has come. I don't want to say much on the self-defense, but let us have some fun so that there will be a coordinated response to this kind of people. A luta continua. A luta continua. God bless you for taking your time to listen to me. You can share this and encourage some people to listen. See you in Boya. Bye-bye.